Hello, this video looks at the final task on the Drafting and Interpreting Financial Statements AAT First Sample Assessment paper. So I'll just share my screen and go through this one with you. Right, so here we are, 22 marks, written question, human marked. So, interpreting ratios. So you can expect to be given some comparison ratios for, I would imagine. So in this example, we are comparing this company, global industry, with an industry average. It could be a comparison of this year and last year. It could be a comparison of one company against another. It could even be a comparison of actual against budget. But you're going to have to be given something to compare. So the key question here is that we are being asked to analyse the financial statements to determine whether they should be given extended credit terms. Our primary concern is solvency, right? If you're thinking about giving credit, then your main concern is can they repay on time and at all, right? So we're most interested in can they pay their debts as they fall due. So out of these ratios, trade payables payment period is going to be relevant and the current ratio, right? But really and truly that current ratio is probably the most important measure that we're interested in. So the way it's set out is to identify whether the ratio is better or worse as compared to its industry average. So just ticking a box 4 times is going to get us 4 marks, and then explaining the comparison. So 16 marks, 4 to talk about, so that's obviously a maximum of 4 for each one. So my advice here is to always sort of start with an explanation statement. So what does it mean? And then possible reasons. And then any comments around the sort of risk or connections or just, anything else you want to add. So let's have a look at these in turn. I'm going to get that information up here so we can see what we're comparing. So interest cover. So global is better than the industry average because interest cover is a measure of how many times the operating profit can cover the interest payment. So we're happily saying that that one is better. And then in our comments, and my advice again, kind of make obvious separate points. So don't just sort of ramble on and on. So I would start by saying this is better than industry average because global's operating profit covers their interest payments 6.7 times compared with 4.1 times for the industry average. Right, so I'm trying to start by explaining what it means. We could then go on and say this is less risky because there is more of a buffer of profits available to meet interest payments. You see what I'm doing? Like every sentence I'm starting anew. So then something like this could be because, and we can use bullet points, but not like true bullet points, but we can put little dashes. So this could be because, so why might their profits, they might have higher operating profits. Sorry, let's say global has higher operating profits than the industry average. It might be that they have, oh, I don't know why that happened. Might be because global has lower loans than the industry average. Can't really be down to, or maybe they've got more favourable interest rates. Global has obtained more favourable, lower interest rates than the industry average. It's a bit repetitive, but I'm making it really clear, you know, what way round it is. Oh, that's probably sufficient, right? That's probably more than enough. If I look at their suggested answer, they're giving 1 mark for saying it was better. We tick that box. Then they're giving 2 marks to say it may be due to higher profits. 2 marks for saying more profit is available to meet interest payments. 2 marks for saying they might have lower interest payments, lower interest rates. So yeah, we've nailed it. We've only got to get 4 marks. We've exceeded it. Right, so then let's come to trade payables payment period. So this one, we've got 45 plays 37. Now this is an interesting one because with payables payment period, you could say it's better because Global's holding on to its money for longer, which is better for Global. But you could say it's worse because it might be that Global is upsetting its suppliers by not sticking to their terms. So for this one, I did have a look at the AAT's sample answer, and they are saying that they want you to state it is better, right? So if the trade payable days is longer, we are saying in accordance with the AAT that it is better for that 1 mark. Right, you can't sit on the fence, you've got to tick one way or the other. So this is better because it means Global is paying suppliers later and therefore can use the money for other purposes for longer. So I'm explaining why it's better. I could, however, then say, however, Global needs to take care not to upset suppliers by paying too late. They must adhere to their credit terms. So I'm making the point that I'm recognizing that, you know, holding onto the money is good for Global, but you can't hold on to it forever. They could say Global might have negotiated longer credit terms with their suppliers, which explains the longer than industry average payment days. I'm just going to adjust this slightly. This is better because it means Global is, I'm going to say on average, just add that in there just to sort of fine tune that slightly. On average paying suppliers later. Right, okay. Anything else we could say there? The longer credit terms with their suppliers. Probably, I can't think of anything else. Let me have a look at their suggested answer. So it's saying 2 marks for paying suppliers later. It is bad for their reputation and credit rating. So that's kind of the point I've made here, which is 2 marks. They may have negotiated longer credit terms is 2 marks. They've also said may have cash flow issues, which I guess we could have added, but we've already got 6 marks. And we only need a total of 4 to get 100% on this question. Right, we then come to the current ratio. So that's moved, so our company's got 3 to 1 against 2.1. So current ratio is better because Global has more current assets relative to current liabilities than the industry average, which means they are well placed to pay their debts as they fall due. They are solvent. All right, that word that they used that we said that we're most interested in. So why might this be? So I would then go, oh, what's happening here? This, oh gosh, hang on. This could be because, and we can use our sort of bullet point approach, they have more inventories, trade receivables, and or cash. Or it could be that they have less trade payables, amounts due to HMRC, and or bank overdrafts, so current liabilities. We can make some comment about the risk here because it's getting a bit on the high side, to be honest. I mean, £3 of current asset for every £1 of liability. We could say something like, oh gosh, what's happened here? So global should take care to ensure efficient use of resources as £3 of current asset for every £1 of current liability is arguably becoming a little much. I'd say something like that. We're looking for an optimum around about 2 to 1 current ratio. We haven't got the quick ratio, so we can't say whether it's anything to do with inventories. Maybe they've got too much tied up in inventories. We could add that, and we could say I'm having trouble with the navigating on the, right, there we go. Without the quick ratio to refer to, we can't say whether they are perhaps, oh, sorry, rather than they, whether global is perhaps holding too much inventory. Again, I've written more than enough there for 4 marks. If I have a look at their suggested answer, 2 marks for saying the company is more solvent, very generous. 2 marks for saying it could indicate an inefficient use of resources. 2 marks for saying they have more current assets. 2 marks for saying less current liabilities. We've got 8 marks there in what I've written. Then last one, return on capital employed. So that's definitely better than the industry average. So 12.7 compared to 10.3. So that is better. We tick better for everyone. Yeah. Right. So return on capital employed. So this shows that Global Limited is making more operating profit from its capital than the industry average. This could be because Global has higher operating profit. You could even make a link there which links to the higher interest cover ratio. Why else could it be? So higher, it could be that they have less equity. So I'm thinking about the formula. So higher profit on the top or lower equity or loans on the bottom. So it could be because global has fewer non-current liabilities in the way of loans. And then that links to the higher interest cover ratio also. It could be that global has lower equity, which would be less retained profits, share premium, or revaluation surplus. Any of those could be lower than the industry average. Probably enough. Let me just have a look at their suggested answers. So they've said capital employed is working more efficiently in terms of generating profits. That's quite a good point, actually. So we could say global is utilizing its assets well to generate profits. And they've said it could be due to higher profits, 2 marks, lower equity, they've said. I've gone into more detail, 2 marks, less non-current liabilities, 2 marks. They've also said higher profits, lower non-current liabilities, consistent with the interest cover ratio. And then what I haven't said, there is a greater capacity to pay dividends. So what that's about is return on capital employed. How much are we getting back from our investment, like compared to sticking it in a bank account or investing in a different company, for example. As a shareholder, the reason we're interested in that is because we want more dividends. So that's quite a good point they've made as well. So I'm fairly confident that most students will be able to get pretty much full marks on this if you follow the method and you know those ratios. Then it says recommend with 1 supporting reason. So this is only worth 2 marks, whether they should offer extended credit terms based on the primary concern of solvency. The solvency is measured by that current ratio. And that is very strong. So I am going to say Elise, that's where I start again. It is recommended that Elise should offer global extended credit terms. So there's 1 mark for saying yes, because the current ratio is stronger than the industry average at 3:1, and this is the best indicator of solvency. Again, if I look at their suggested answer, they've given 1 mark for saying extended credit terms should be offered and 1 mark for saying they are more solvent because the current ratio is better. There we go, full marks. So I'm now going to submit this assessment. And remember, it's not going to mark those written responses. Just going to see what it does. Please wait while responses are being saved. I'm not sure how long this is going to take. I might stop the video in a second, but let me just see what it gives me. It doesn't take too long. Oh, here we are. Right. So it tells me when I started and finished it. Pass mark percentage, 70%. Oh, this is very good. So it's now giving me a breakdown. Everything's been completed. So it tells me which ones are human marked. It obviously hasn't given me a mark for those. And as expected, full marks on everything else. It does, of course, help that I've got the suggested answers sitting next to me. Right, there we go. Thanks for watching.